Welcome to Apollo 11 Story, a You Choose adventure from Capstone, made with Earplay. We're about to go on a journey together where you decide how the story unfolds. You will be asked questions about what should happen next, and you'll choose the path you should take. Each path will take 9 to 12 minutes to complete.
You are an American in the 1960s. The United States and the Soviet Union have been in a space race since the end of World War II. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched a satellite called Sputnik. Since then, the two superpowers have increased their efforts to prove they have the best space technology. In April 1961, the Soviet Union sends the first person into space. Less than a month later, the U.S. sends the first American in space. Afraid that the Soviets could gain superiority in space technology, the U.S. government begins a program to develop more powerful rockets. On May 25, 1961, President John F. Kennedy sets an ambitious goal. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. So the United States sets to work to learn how to get to space, live in space, and travel farther than anyone ever has. Do you work on Apollo training, mission control, or the recovery team?
No.
The big day has arrived. Today, July 20th, 1969, you hope to help fulfill President Kennedy's goal of landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade. Astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin have moved into the lunar module, or LM, called Eagle. They are flying the spacecraft toward the moon's surface. Meanwhile, Mike Collins is in the command module, or CM, called Columbia, in orbit around the moon. He will keep that part of the spacecraft ready for Armstrong and Aldrin's return from the surface. If the mission goes as planned, they will become the first humans ever to land and walk on a surface other than Earth. In simulations, the landing was always the big moment. Inside mission control of the Manned Space Flight Center in Houston today, it feels just like a simulation. The only difference is all the people in the viewing room behind the glass watching. You and the other flight controllers in mission control are watching your computer consoles intently. You monitor data about the spacecraft, the health of the astronauts, and the computers. If anything goes wrong, you or one of the other controllers will know it right away. Even though the tension is high, you have confidence in your abilities and in the astronauts flying 240,000 miles away. Everyone in mission control has an important job. The flight engineers make sure the spacecraft is operating as it should. They solve the problems that come up. They are trained to make quick decisions to make sure the mission goes successfully. The capsule communicator, or Capcom, is another important job. This is the only flight controller who communicates directly with the astronauts. Astronaut training for a future Apollo mission. Right now, though, you are the only member of mission control who communicates to the astronauts. Capcom is always one of the astronauts. He knows best how to talk to them. During the descent to the moon's surface, communication with the astronauts is spotty. Program alarms keep coming up, but everything else is working well. The mission control room becomes quiet. The mission controllers listen intently to the astronauts. They are down to an altitude of 3,000 feet. Flight goes through a round of go or no-go decisions. Everyone responds with a hearty go when flight calls on them. You tell the astronauts you are go for landing. About a minute later, Armstrong takes over manual control of Eagle. The astronauts are past their intended landing zone, and he must not like what he sees. There isn't much the mission control team can do now. It's all in Armstrong's and Aldrin's hands. Finally, Armstrong comes over the radio.
Looks like a good area here.
Aldrin quickly responds.
I got the shadow out there.
They must be close. Aldrin updates Armstrong on their progress.
250, down at 2.5, 19 forward.
This means that their altitude is just 250 feet and going down about 2.5 feet per second. And they are traveling 19 feet per second forward. They are still moving forward fairly quickly. Aldrin continues with his updates.
11 forward. Coming down nicely.
Then you hear Armstrong chime in.
Gonna be right over that crater.
Armstrong does not sound tense. In fact, he's amazingly calm. You notice you are clenching the armrests of your chair tightly. You try to remember to breathe. You keep an eye on how much fuel they have left. Armstrong is still moving the LM forward, apparently still looking for a good spot. You remind them